Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Picture this. The alarm goes off, but you're not asleep. You're just wide awake to a new reality. Wakey, wakey, y'all. Today's topic is spiritual awakening. You're here with the crew of
Jeepers.
The podcast.
This is Brenda.
This is Camille.
This is Chandra.
And this is Lynn. And joining us today is our friend, Antonia. Welcome aboard, Antonia.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's so good to be here.
So we're having Antonia join us today. So I met Antonia, oh gosh, I don't even know what month it was. I probably should have looked that up, but
I feel like it was spring last year.
I think so.
I think we're about a year in.
Yeah.
Or a little more.
Maybe.
And what a year it's been.
and what a year, y'all. Can't even
Holy
imagine.
cow. Yeah. No, seriously. It's been a wild ride already.
It has. And so Antonia was actually sent to me, and we'll just do a shout out to Heather. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
So Heather has sent a few people to me for a Reiki sessions or healing sessions, and she sent Antonia. So Antonia comes in, and it's like I've never met this girl before in my life, but like I recognize her. And so we have this incredible session, which we'll talk about in a moment. But when I was working on Antonia, it was like, you ever feel like really protective over somebody that you've never met before? Mm-hmm. It was like the mama bear was coming out in me, and I didn't know why. But I didn't say anything to Antonia because, you know.
Creepy.
Exactly. Jeepers creepers. So from there, we just formed a friendship. And then I brought her to the Woo Crew because she's kind of just a part of us now. Mm-hmm. And let's also give a shout out to Erin, who is not with us today, but who does love Antonia.
We miss you, Erin. I wish you were here.
So, Antonia, would you, instead of me telling it, mm-hmm. would you like to tell them about the spirit guide happening?
Sure.
Which was the day that we met.
Yes. Okay. So this is pretty exciting. So when I first walked into your house, one of the first things you said, I think you had a crystal for me and you had little tidbits of information. You had already tuned into my energy. And you said, Marsha, the name Marsha is coming up. Is this someone you know? And I said, no, I can't think of a Marsha. I mean, besides the Brady Bunch, right? Which every time I say Marsha, like I think you did the same thing, Brenda. Everyone does the Marsha, which she was my favorite on the Brady Bunch. So you said, well, she's your spirit guide. I think you tuned in and you're like, okay, she's your spirit guide. And I said, wow, that's so cool. But you sort of hear that and you're like, okay, you get told this information and it's very hard to absorb that and believe it and know it. So you're like, okay. So after the session, I have two daughters. One was with a friend. One was with another friend. I went to pick up the younger daughter, Loretta. She's 9. And the first thing out of her mouth when I got to the door of her friend's house is, Mom, I met Marsha today. And she was so emotional. And I was like, within 3 words, the name Marsha came out of her mouth. And I think I must have looked like I was hit by a 2x4 because I was just like standing there with like stars above my head and my eyes bulging out of their sockets. And I was like, wait, come again? Like what? And so it turns out that she had gone to meet puppies. The family that she was playing with, they were going to pick out their puppy from a litter of puppies. Oh, these gorgeous dogs. I can't think of the name right now. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But she bonded with this puppy and they had already named all the puppies. And this puppy was named Marsha.
Oh.
And the mom said, oh, you wouldn't believe how she bonded with this puppy. She said they had a connection right away. And she did not want to put her down. And she wanted her so badly, but she knew you already had 2 dogs and she couldn't have her. She wanted us to adopt Marsha, but Grace, her little friend, had already picked out a different dog. So Loretta was kind of crushed. She loved Marsha. She had a bond with Marsha. Anyway, so that was like the greatest confirmation. Like it just knocked my socks off. I couldn't believe that quickly I got a confirmation. Like, what more do you need? Oh, and I should back up because as I was leaving your house and driving straight to pick Loretta up, I said, give me a sign. Give me a sign. Marsha, are you there? Are you with me, Marsha? Are you really my spirit guide? If you are, please give me a sign.
So she gave you a 2x4.
Yeah.
Right.
She smacked me in the face. And so...
Oh, kind of like Marsha got smacked in the face with a football. You got hit by a 2x4.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
In the Brady Bunch. Yes. So I was asking for it and boy, did I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great story?
I love that. I love it when that happens. I call that magic. It's like I always...
That is magic.
I pretty much end every meeting with my spirit guides. Goes, send me more magic today. I love the magic. Send me more magic.
Yeah.
Goose from the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was so funny, like, because I'm really funny about like contacting my clients afterwards. Like I don't like contact. And I was like, I know I've had a past life with this girl, but like I didn't contact her, but she was texting me and she's like, I'm not bothering you, am I? I was like, no, you're not bothering me. So we met for coffee in downtown, and y'all, it was like a seance in that building because her family decided they were going to come through.
Yeah.
So her grandma was there, and she was telling me all these things, and I was like, oh, okay. But the synchronicities that came about that night, that was the big, maybe it was like your introduction to awakening, maybe. But we, during the course of that conversation, found out that her mother went to school right next door to where my brother lives now. Her father was in the Coast Guard Academy, which is right next door to where my brother went to the Naval Academy. Mm-hmm. Antonia grew up on the street in Winston-Salem that I'm on every single week. Mm-hmm. And it was just, there's so many cross-ups in that. And just from that, like, it was just like, my favorite saying, on like a pot of neck bones.
Ooh, that's a new one to me.
Yes, well, you got to be from the South.
So before that, Antonia, did you have any inclination or thoughts about like spiritual type of things?
Yeah, I've always been drawn to those things, but how do I describe it? I was so still on the periphery of it. But like I was drawn to crystals and metaphysical shops, and I used to visit psychics periodically. So yes, I was. And I have had experiences with loved ones coming to me, appearing to me, which was very, very scary. And I'm still really struggling. I know, Brenda, you can relate with me about the fear element of once that sort of opens up, at least I can speak for myself personally. It's like, am I being watched all the time? Like, is someone just going to boom appear while I'm getting dressed, or like, or while I'm sleeping, they're standing there staring at me? Because one of the times that someone did come to me, my grandmother. So for high school, I lived in Pennsylvania in a farmhouse that had been my grandparents. My grandmother that lived in that farmhouse had taken a tragic fall down the stairs and was in the hospital. And I knew that. I mean, she wasn't well. She was in the hospital. Okay, so this night, I wake up to a humming sound, like a kind of like this like really soothing humming sound. And I open my eyes and I look, and at the foot of my bed, there's a figure. It sounds cliche, but it wasn't solid. It was illuminated, and I want to say a bit transparent, or like a whitishness. And my brother's room was actually connected to mine at the time, and I thought it was him. He was little, and I thought he was standing at the foot of my bed because he was like, at that time, the bane. I mean, he wasn't the bane of my existence, but he was just a very hyper, just willful little boy. And I was like, Griffin, go back to bed. And then I heard him like roll over in his bed and go, and make like a little sleeping noise. And I was like, wait a minute. If Griffin's in there, who is that? And so, oh my gosh, I was so terrified, hid under my covers till morning, and then found out the next morning that my grandmother had passed away.
Oh.
And that was actually her bedroom of the house before, in the early days when they moved to the house. So that was sort of my first experience with spirit that way. So did I answer your question?
I think so. Yeah.
I just got off on a crazy tangent. So,
you've
it's something I'm
always-
aware of.
Yeah. Something that you've
Mhm.
like had happen in your life.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you're talking about, like the fear element.
Yes.
Is why when you start being exposed to those kind of things and they start showing up for you,
Mm-hmm.
why it's so important to find community.
Yes.
Because it's like, that's the point where you need somebody to go, that's normal. It's fine. Here's how you set boundaries.
Yes.
Here's how you make sure there's not somebody standing in the bathroom with you while you're taking a shower. Here's how you make sure they don't scare you when they show up in the middle of the night. Because when that stuff starts happening, you don't know any of that stuff. And you don't know that it's even like, you don't even know that you can set boundaries with spirit. Like,
Right.
you need someone to help guide you through all
Show
that,
you the ropes.
right, all that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
just wanted to interject.
No,
that's why
that's
it's so important to find
huge.
people who,
Mm-hmm.
who don't look at you like, sure you did, Antonia.
I know. And I mean, Lynn has been a huge helper because I feel like in a short amount of time, you know me really well. And you know, like sort of where I'm a little anxious and neurotic, what I'm nervous about, whatever. And yeah, you've helped me with that. And I am getting better. I'm working on the fear because I want to be open and I want to be able to receive the magic and not be so afraid that I close to it. So
Mhm. I think getting over the fear is like the biggest part of awakening
Mm-hmm.
to like understanding spirit or to being able to communicate more than maybe what you would have if it was just happening randomly and you
Yeah.
had that fear attached to the experiences themselves.
Or even if it's just the fear of, am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong? Like, am I going to call something in that I really don't want just because you don't have a comfort level of that what you're doing or who you're connecting with or what you're saying when you connect is quote unquote the right thing, even though you really can't do
Yeah.
it wrong. It's all about energy and intention, but you don't know that when you first start out. Like, what am I doing? Am I
Absolutely.
quote unquote messing this up? Kind of thing.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've all seen those horror movies, so you want to tread lightly at least.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of that. It's fodder for a lot of good entertainment where things go terribly awry.
Right.
So if we've learned anything, it's like when you first start having those experiences, don't buy a doll. Like that's what we've all learned.
Oh, yes. The doll.
Well, y'all know I like creepy dolls, so I'm just saying.
Buy a face mug, a face jug, not a doll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have those too.
Yeah.
So, Antonia, you moved here, well, you lived here, or you moved to LA
Mhm.
for a long time, and then you moved back.
Mhm.
So, I want to talk about when you moved back, how you actually started the awakening process.
Yeah. I think that I felt that when I was in the environment of Los Angeles, I had gotten to where I was feeling very stifled by stress and the hustle and bustle and the worry. And I think that I was living in what you would call maybe a more low frequency zone of like survival and like, all of those emotions like doubt and anxiety, like these things that were getting in the way of being able to like really realize who I am and experience that openness to see the magic and to feel that there's magic inside of me that connects me to all of this magic. And I think that moving here, things felt so calm to me, and looking out and seeing the green. I mean, everywhere you go, it's just so luscious. It's luscious and green. And it was like so nourishing for me to be in an environment like that where I had the time, even while driving. I joke that compared to driving in Los Angeles, I feel like I'm taking a nap.
Right.
Like when I'm on the highway, I'm like, this is like a nap. Okay. And I say it to my girls all the time. I'm like, look how beautiful this. I mean, we're just driving to school and it is so beautiful. And it is quote unquote rush hour, which is just, it's like, so, it's just a very different, slower pace of life. So, okay, to wrap that up and to get into it, I think that by calming down, connecting with nature, I was able to open up. And I really do think, Lynn, I mean, meeting you said it. Like, I feel like it just like, it was like that domino at the beginning or like the the Rube Goldberg experiment where everything went ding, 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 ping, ping, ping. I feel like that was like really the thing that just like set it like
Like it was primed and that just kind of.
It was primed and it just set it off. And I think because I felt such an affinity for you and I trusted you that like I was able to grow. It feels quickly. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I were further along. But I feel like where I am now compared to where I was a year ago or maybe a little prior, definitely 2 years ago, I wouldn't almost recognize myself. And it's funny, and this is where, ego comes in and talk about shadow work is all kind of part of it because I'm working a lot on that right now. But I even have a fear of like seeing people that I haven't seen in 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then being like, what happened to Antonia? Like, she weird,
She used to be so cool.
Yeah, like, what is she talking about all the time? Like, I do believe that collectively, sort of everybody is tuning in more and looking for the magic. So I don't feel like, oh, I'm alone. I think it's a lot of people that are doing this. And so it probably would not be that way. But I do feel like I've changed. I do feel like I've changed.
It might be that way because I think I went through that same thing with like my family and like coming out.
Yes.
Of the spiritual closet with my family because they're so religious and still feel judged about that. But that's part of it too. Like just being okay in who you are and who you're becoming.
Yeah.
Because we're becoming something different every single day.
Yeah.
And it's looking at like, okay, how do I feel about myself today where I am versus how I felt about myself when I'm not talking negatively about them, but these people were in my circle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just teared up when you said that because I feel so much better. Yeah. And it's not because there was anything wrong with the place that I was or anything wrong with the people around me, because I love a lot of people that are there.
More authentic.
But I feel more like me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to put in a little plug for shout out for Joanna the healer, who I think is amazing. I actually saw her this past week.
The obligatory every episode.
Yeah,
shout out
she comes up. But
Sorry, who? We never talked about her.
Who is that? She said something to me that I'm just thinking of it. She said, be full of yourself. Mm. She said, don't be full of yourself. Because I have a struggle with ego. Like, I don't want my feeling good about myself to be an ego expression. Like, I don't want to be like, I'm special, I'm great.
Well, and by doing that, feeling like, oh, well, if I meet someone, then I'm flaunting it in their face because they don't feel as good as I do. Like that kind of feeling.
Never. Exactly. Or that you're on a soapbox or a pedestal. Like when you get excited, because I get really excited and I can talk, as you can probably tell right now, I just start to go and go and go. And then the person maybe just kind of standing there looking at me, but I never want it to be that I'm coming from some higher place. It's just that I'm excited. I'm excited about this new path.
It feels so good. I want to share.
Yes. Like if I can feel freer and more liberated by knowing or feeling in my bones, like having sort of like a claircognizance almost, like feeling what is really truly real. If I can help somebody maybe feel a little bit freer or let go of things that are making them feel unhappy, then that would be like the greatest thing, because I love to help people and I love to communicate and share. So, yeah.
Oh, I just think all of that is awesome. I'm just sitting over here in tears, y'all. Like,
really?
And this is Lynn, by the way. Yeah. Just like hearing your story and how you've transformed and my part in that.
Big, really big.
Yeah. It just brings me to tears to hear that and just to see, because I can see the growth because I met you when you not long after you'd moved here. So, and also I took Antonia to the cemetery. Do y'all know the story?
This is a great story.
Antonia came over one evening and we took a walk, and there's a really old cemetery by my house. And I was like, let's walk to the cemetery.
Just for fun.
Just for fun. And
I'm like, yeah.
And
hell yeah.
So Antonia has a strong fight or flight.
Yeah.
And so
you could say that.
Yeah, you could say that. So we're walking through the cemetery and we're just talking and looking, and listen, it was magical in there because all of a sudden Snow White, who is what I call Antonia, there were hawks flying around, there was crows. And then I look up and I see something almost pure white. And I grab Antonia because I recognize it's a skunk inside the cemetery. So I reach out and grab her, and you would have thought that one of the spirits grabbed her because she took off so fast. I'm surprised her
I'm a fast runner too.
She is very fast. I was like, oh, do I just have her clothes standing next to me? Like, she left so fast, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was just the clothes and Antonia was gone. And then I turned around and started laughing. I was like, no, it's just a skunk. We just don't want to spook it.
As you're running and screaming.
Oh, I was like, I don't know how many yards away by that point. Yeah.
It was actually very funny, but yeah, it was like all the animals came out that night.
Incredible.
And do you remember we were walking in, we saw a white feather floating down and it floated right into Antonia's hand.
Yeah.
She held her hand out.
It floated down from the sky or from wherever. And I just put my hand right in front of me, out flat, my palm open, and it landed right there.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
was
damn.
I know.
so cool.
I know. I was like, oh, there's something special about this one.
And it was like as we were approaching the gates, it was like the gates were right there. I don't
Yeah.
know how far ahead. And it was like, oh, this
Aw.
means something. Like we're about to walk into the cemetery and this lands in my hand.
Yeah,
You know?
it was the weirdest thing.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
just so you know, she is a little bit afraid of spirits,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah. I think like I was talking to you about this, Lynn, that I feel like I'm not going to be given more than I can handle right
Mm.
now. Like it's breaking in slowly, but the magic that happens is so exciting. The synchronicities. Let's think, what's a good one to, there's so many. I'm
There's,
like,
oh my God, there's so many.
There's that weird story about
Oh, the song
this. Which one? Which song?
that
I've had a
came-
few songs.
that came in. I don't know if we want to say her name.
What? Why am I like,
Like she's drawing a blank, y'all.
yeah. Oh, this is a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say her name, although I don't think she would care.
I don't think
but-
she would care. But
Okay, I'm just going to say it. Okay, so my friend Dana, who is also a friend of Lynn's, came to Lynn as a client. Dana and I, poof. Okay, so I lived here for middle school. She was my middle school friend. I hadn't seen her in a very long time. I'm not going to date myself, but I hadn't seen her in a very long time. I moved here. We became so close. So I actually came with Dana to an Akashic reading with Lynn. Lynn is a phenomenal, I'm plugging for you, girl.
Oh, thanks,
No, a
Antonia.
phenomenal Akashic record reader. So I went with Dana. She wanted me to go with her, and I took notes, and it was amazing because I learned so much about my friend, and it was really cool. I did get a little carpal tunnel because I was like writing like 10 pages, like so fast. But after that, she and I were starving. We went to get food, and then we hung out in her driveway and we were talking. And I was about to say goodbye to her. And I reached over to hug her, and I started singing her a song. Didn't know why. Just started singing it. And I don't know if you guys know the song. It's like, "We love you, Conrad. Oh, yes, we do."
Yeah.
From Bye Bye Birdie, I think. Is that from Bye Bye
I
Birdie?
know the tune.
Okay. So I started singing that song, but I replaced Conrad with Dana. And I went through the whole chorus. It's like, "When you're not with us, we're blue," or "When you're not near us, we're blue. We love you, Dana. Oh, yes, we do."
No.
And she, the 2x4 comes in, smacked on the face with a 2x4, eyes huge. I was like, "What?" And she said, "My mom used to sing that to me every night before bed." And that was really insane.
You
Like
channeled girl.
the way I
Mhm.
felt about that was like simultaneously amazed and scared. Like, what just happened to me? So there was something I was going to say about that. So and also that it was very intimate to be in an Akashic reading with her. And so I did learn some things about her childhood. And so I think that my singing that song was me connecting with her inner child that
Mm-hmm.
had some stuff. And so that was really, it felt meaningful.
Antonia's waking up, y'all.
It's weird because you're just like, where did that come from? Why? You know?
But the thing is it's like you didn't go, "That's kind of creepy for me to sing her a love song." You didn't like squash it down and get all like ego in your head about it of like, what would she think if I did that? You just kind of like had the feeling, went with it.
Yeah.
And that's what opening up to spirit is. It's like not second guessing the stuff that comes through, but just whatever comes, letting it, receiving it, letting it come through. And sometimes it means something, sometimes it doesn't, but it's maintaining that flow and not letting your humanness squash it before you get to express it.
Yeah. I feel like in those cases, it's like the thought and the action are almost simultaneous. So it's like, good thing I don't have time to analyze what I'm doing. I am a singer. I am a little wacky. And I do things that people are just going to be like, oh, that's Antonia being weird. And that's normal. So I don't feel weird about suddenly singing.
Maybe that's going to be the way that you channel messages. It's going to be in like a weird, Antonia specific kind of vibe.
I mean, hopefully it'll really embarrass my daughters. Because
that's why they're there.
Yeah,
Something to live for.
That is why they're there. If I can't do that, then I'm not doing my job.
Well, I mean, I feel you. Sometimes I will get messages in the form of a jingle, like a commercial or something.
Yeah.
It'll be totally silly and no one else might get it, but I do.
Yeah.
And on that note, while we're talking about your daughters, since you've been back here, how has the family, how has hubby, how have your children reacted to this spiritual awakening?
That's a really, I could talk about that for a while, but I'll try to condense it. Okay, so my little one, Loretta, who's a character, very out there, very much herself, kind of doesn't have a filter, which sometimes it's like, oh, girl, think before you speak. But
Gemini.
Yeah, Gemini. Chandra and Brenda are Geminis, just to say. So anyway, so she's like, Mom, you've gotten weird. She's like, all this stuff, like you with the cards and you with the crystals and you on. And she loves to make fun of it. However, she's flipping getting messages and doesn't know it. Yeah. So like she'll make an art project and it's about, we have something kind of living. How do I even say this?
In another dimension that kind of shows up in their house.
Yeah. So like our house and his house are in the same place. Now, if you didn't think I was crazy before, you probably think I'm crazy now, listeners. Maybe not, if you're tuning in. So this creature, I know his name and everything, lives in the house. Well, Loretta, months prior to me finding out that this creature lived sort of in our house, she made this stuffed animal. She had this fur and she had this foam. And that's the thing. She's extremely creative. Her creative energy is like through the roof. She can make anything. She dreams things up and it's like, whoa. So she made this stuffed creature with long, fluffy brown fur and little eyes kind of barely peeking out from behind the fur. And we realized, well, Aaron's not here, but Aaron was the one. Back it up. One night, Ryan and I were sitting and we heard like creature breathing. It was late at night and we heard like,
oh, that's not creepy.
Oh, if he hadn't been there, I think I would have had a heart attack and died on the spot. And thank the Lord, he was there to hear it because I don't know what I would have done. I am so glad he was there. He heard it too. It's undeniable. This thing was breathing right by us. And so I had been in communication with Aaron and lovely Aaron was like, okay, let me check this out. Because we had just been talking about stuff. I forget what, but he says, okay, it's a creature spirit. It's in your house. He told me all about it. And then I showed him this stuffy thing that Loretta made. And he's like, oh my gosh, that is it. Like, I think she's, what I've learned or come to feel and know is that creativity is channeling or it is like divine messages coming in. And that's why like our movies, our TV, our books, like these ideas, they're so powerful and they resonate for people because they're not just born of a human mind. They're coming from somewhere else.
They're coming from the consciousness.
They're coming from
they're part of collective consciousness.
And that's why there have been a lot of predictive things, right? Like, I mean, there's so many movies or whatever predicting future events. So what was the other thing that Loretta did? Oh, Samantha. She named something Samantha. And I've recently found out that I have another spirit guide named Samantha, which I found out through Joanna, the healer. Joanna, the healer, y'all.
I'm sorry.
She's got to listen to this. I know she's busy, but okay. So the other one, Isadora, she just turned 13. She's very sensitive. She, I've learned, is very strongly intuitive.
Aries.
She's an Aries. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
She doesn't want to be intuitive because a little boy showed up in her room one night. She woke up and there was a full 3-dimensional, solid, illuminated, but solid with color, could describe his outfit, hair color, eye color, everything, standing at the foot of her bed looking at her. Yeah, I would have died on the spot. And then she's sort of, as I've started to talk to her about it, she's realized that she has had visions since as early as she can remember. She sees the thing and then the thing happens. Mm-hmm. And it can be mundane. It can be like, It can be almost like that deja vu kind of thing where it's like, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my friend.
It's almost like deja vu. It's like you dream that somebody waves at you. You don't even know who it is, but you dream somebody waves at you from a school bus window. And then on the way to school tomorrow, some kid in the back, and you're like,
I've
seen that before.
Saw that. And I remember seeing it. So she sort of has gone backwards from there and said, oh yeah, I do this thing. She also had a thing where, and I'm still trying to figure this one out, but she heard my voice outside of the house at night when she walked home from her friends. But she came in, looked like she was hit by a 2x4 when she saw me sitting inside the house because she heard my voice outside call to her. And I said, Izzy, do you see me? And she's like, where are you? And she's like looking around for me. And then when she didn't see me, she just went inside the house. I have some theories. But she wants to be normal. She's 13. She wants to blend in. She wants to be like everybody else, which I get in a middle school age.
So, can I interject?
Absolutely. I'm talking a blue streak.
So I feel like
the blue light you saw, but go ahead.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Intuitively, I'm getting, she's skipping around timelines.
Okay.
Like she's able to pop in and out. She doesn't know she's doing it, but she's like here, there. Like she's like all over the place.
Okay. So that would
energetically.
Yeah.
Herself is able to see a lot of different things.
And I feel like that's like a familial kind of thing. And that's why you have the little creature. Like all of you are kind of like open to the portal-y thing. And stuff just kind of like comes in and out.
I think you might be right.
And it's growing and it's going to grow more and more. I'm hearing over the next 2 years.
Okay.
So it's going to be like I feel like it's going to be similar to what I went through with my kids of our awakening from the house that we lived in. It's where all the activity was happening constantly. It's going to be that kind of thing that's like, you can't pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah. Are we going to have to move, Brenda?
No.
No,
you're going to make friends with it.
Okay.
You done did that. You good.
Yeah.
But you are going to have to normalize that for her. And not so that she doesn't feel like that makes her different from X, Y, or Z. That just makes her like A, B, and C.
That's true.
And not really compare herself to, compare herself to the things that she's like and not feel so different from the things that necessarily aren't like her. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just have to expose her to the things that
and also that, and this is a really hard sell for a 13-year-old, but that it gives her access maybe to more, to
community.
And also just that by
the energy of stuff,
having more clear connection to it, that it also can bring her information. It can bring her comfort. It can bring her solace. Well, it's comfort, but it
can bring her magic.
Yes, it can bring her magic.
And the thing is, she's 13. She doesn't have to embrace it today.
No.
Just don't close it off, honey. Just let it simmer because one day you may
on the back burner.
Right.
Like put it on the back burner, but don't like put the lid on and turn the burner off.
Right.
And keep your eye out for like-minded souls.
Yeah.
Because at all ages we need them, and we all know what 13 was
and
like.
you never know where they're going to show up.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
We did make her a jar for her room.
Of course we did.
Of course.
Me
made her a jar to just kind of calm the activity in her room because it was freaking her out. But
so you make us a dream jar to put under her bed, but you make her the calming jar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn.
Different stages of life, different needs, you know. Oh, I got to tell about the jar just because my mind just went there, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So for my birthday, you had me come over and make a I made a couple jars, but I'm going to speak of one, which was the dream jar.
Of course you did.
Yeah. And I put it under the bed and I had some dreams, but nothing compared to my husband.
Did he know the jar was
No.
under there?
Oh my
course not.
Lord.
So I snuck that jar under the bed. I did not tell him about it. And he started waking up. I think it was like 3-4 mornings in a row. Holy, oh God, the dream I had last night. Like he was rocked in the morning for like days.
Did you just blink and look confused?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. It's like,
Coffee?
honey, tell me about it. What happened?
Want a bagel? Yeah. So he was having, and for some reason for him, he was working out like it was anxious. It was like anxious type dreams. So finally I said, I got a confession to make. You know what? When I went to Lynn's, do you know what I did? I made a dream jar and it's been under our bed for the last four nights. And he was like, take that thing out right now. Take that thing out.
So back to my question, how did hubby react to the spiritual awakening?
Well, he's kind of on his own. We're different. I feel like we started on the same sort of path. And now he's kind of gone on his own sort of fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
He's now aware and he's drawing a lot of different energy. He had this thing yesterday. He's an ideas person. He can't stop. He's got a brilliant creative mind. He's always taking things apart and looking at them and how can I make something beautiful and creative about this? How can I communicate to more people about this? How can I share? And so he had some idea the other day, and as he thought the idea, he had this feeling crawl up the back of his neck and like tingle. And
As one does.
as you know, as a normal day, I get more the top of the head tingle kind of thing, but he gets this really strong one that kind of comes up his neck. And so he said, I backtracked to what I was thinking about to see if I could recreate that tingle again. He was able to rewind and find it. He thought the thought again and it happened again.
Wow.
So he's had a lot of interesting experiences himself. Sometimes I think with me, like we would take walks together and I'd be like, look at that feather. I'd be like walking around like I'm just like a fairy in the woods and like just like picking up things and everything had significance and meaning. And he'd kind of look at me and be like, I think you need to calm down a little bit. Like he has a little bit of like tone it down, I just a little bit. But then again, he's also having his own version of an awakening. So, yeah.
Which is
Life
very
is-
funny.
It's crazy.
It
Life
is.
is crazy. Like,
There's no cookie cutter awakenings. I mean, it's very personal.
Yeah.
yeah. And do you think that you guys coming here to live was like divinely orchestrated so that you could be at this point in your life?
I do. I think Lynn could probably, if you want to, speak to that. But I feel like I could not imagine life any other way. Like not coming here is not an option. Ryan is so happy here. That's my husband. You guys know, but so everybody knows. Loretta immediately was so happy. Izzy being 11 when she got here, turning 12, now turning 13. It's a hard time
It
in
is.
life.
Yeah.
Right. So
Geography has no meaning. It's
right.
the age is wherever you are.
But I do see the advantages and how they have impacted her in a meaningful, positive way being here. And I don't think she realizes that if she were still there, maybe it wouldn't be quite as great as it seems in her mind. Possibly.
Mhm.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. But wow, totally lost my train of thought.
That happens a lot in here.
Yeah. Oh, being here
Mhm.
is, it's exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I feel
I
like
feel that too.
every thing that happens, I feel like I get these signs all the time. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here. You're on the path.
Mhm.
And I never felt I was on a path. Like I had never felt that before.
Yeah. I feel like it wouldn't have happened to you in LA at all, maybe. Or if
Yeah.
it did, you would have been like an old lady. That's what the visual that I'm getting.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to be here and
Yeah.
spirit nudged you. So what was there a nudge that was like, I got to move back here?
Well, what's weird is that we had been looking for where to move for a long time. And we had even put offers in on houses in other states. And at some point during like pandemic time, we were able to drag the kids around because they were doing school on the computer. So I was like, I loved North Carolina as a kid. Let's just look at it. And basically like the opinion of North Carolina from people I talk to in Los Angeles, I hear it's so beautiful, or it's so beautiful there. I went there once. I went to Asheville, so there is sort of like a glowing report, like North Carolina is a beautiful place. I get it, you know? We checked out Raleigh. We checked out Durham, and we actually came here twice. It's a little confusing, but we looked at other places. And then when I got back in touch with my friend Dana that I spoke of earlier, I said, are you in Winston? Because she lived away for a long time, away from Winston, out of state. And she said, you got to come back. You got to check it out. So I checked it out, and it felt so good. It felt so right. And to Ryan, who had never been here, he's like, this is the place. And so totally lost my train of thought again.
So spirit nudged you here.
I'm not
basically.
on drugs. I'm totally, this is me forgetting stuff mid-sentence.
So spirit nudged you to be here.
I think so.
The other things didn't work out in the other states. And then whenever you were talking about Raleigh and Durham, I'm like, no.
It just wasn't right. It just wasn't right.
Yeah.
And even Asheville.
And can I tell you why?
Yes. Brenda, please tell me why.
Because you needed to meet your soul tribe.
Yes.
You needed to be more people.
100% accurate.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That makes me feel like.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so one thing that I haven't said.
Just one thing.
Just buckle up.
Well,
y'all.
Today, there's probably a million things I haven't said. It took me a long time to tell Antonia because I don't want to be that Akashic record reader or that medium or
that weirdo psychic.
So I just got the visual of Whoopi Goldberg or You in Danger, Girl. That's the visual that just came into my mind.
Exactly. But I don't like, because there's so many, and if you're in the spiritual community, there are a lot of frauds who will say, oh, we've known each other in many past lives. But I knew that I had known Antonia. I knew the first time I met her. I didn't tell her.
I was blissfully unaware.
She was unaware. And so I don't know. I don't think it was the first time we met. Maybe it was the second time. I can't remember now because it's like...
It took a little bit before you opened up about that.
But I finally said to her, oh, I'm going to sit down and look at it because I know that I've known you. I know this. And I sat down, and what I saw, I couldn't even believe it. And it was that Antonia was my daughter in a past life. And I described how she looked, and this is through text. And what it through text? And she said, oh my God, hold on. And she came back and sent me a picture of what I had just described to her, how she looked.
Yeah.
And it was how she looked as a child in this lifetime too.
And it was crazy because it was one of those Victorian silhouettes that they used to do where they cut out your silhouette. And the era, I mean, it was an earlier era. It wasn't Victorian days, but I was wearing one of those like
high
collars with the ruffle around the top, and my hair was pulled back and braided, and it looked like the picture. And what's weird is that, having moved and being slow to fully unpack, there's still a lot of boxes in my attic and such. I just had this broken, so it had sort of broken out of the frame, this oval shaped Victorian silhouette. And for some reason, it had been sitting on this. We have this disgusting fiberglass like jet tub. I can't stand my bathroom, but that's a whole other story. Someday we will redo that. So this Victorian silhouette has been sitting on the ledge, the wall of this fiberglass tub. And I'm always like, God, I hope I don't knock it down and break the glass. Why is it still sitting here? This is important. This is from my childhood. I should really wrap it up in tissue and put it away. But it was sitting there. And you were texting me, and I looked down. I'm like, I feel like I should send this to Lynn. Like this silhouette that's been sitting on my bathtub. So I sent it to you, and you were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It looked just like what I was seeing. And what was really funny is like her parents in this lifetime. I was like, oh my God, that was your grandparents in that lifetime. My brother was our neighbor. Yeah. Like I was able to see a lot about that lifetime because we were connected.
Yeah.
And it was something to see.
There's a lot of familiarity that I feel with your mother too.
Yeah. So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loves you.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's so sweet.
She is Very sweet.
Well, and of course
Tiny
she loves-
Tony, hold me closer.
She is going to listen to this and love that so much.
She's the sweetest little thing.
She is.
Yeah, she really is.
She's a giver and
Yeah.
a love.
And you know, I think too, whenever we meet each other,
Mhm.
all of us sitting in this room, and Aaron, he's not here, but it's like there's this knowing that we know each other, and it's not that common, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you can
I
have
agree.
friends that you really care about and you love, but it's different. It's just different.
It's a different
is.
feeling.
It is.
Well, it's immediate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's like-
immediate.
It's undeniable and it's immediate.
And it's like I don't have that with everybody that comes in on my table. Like
Right.
I don't think I've maybe twice with everybody I've ever worked on, and one of them was Antonia, and I was like,
Wow.
I know
I
this
didn't know
child.
that.
Yeah,
So I didn't, I wasn't aware. I felt like I was harassing you.
But it's
Like-
because you felt it too. Like you
Well,
kept
I
like,
just
coming
couldn't
back
stop writing her.
Right.
And I was like, I hope I'm not bothering you.
Am
But
I
it-
stalking you?
Literally.
Oh, no,
I
I'm
was
a groupie.
well, here she is with all these gifts and she does all this work and you can see she's a magnet, right? And so maybe everybody's going to harass her afterwards. And I don't want to be part of that riffraff because I ain't no riffraff. So, but I just was like every little thing because there were a lot of other cool things that happened, which my memory stinks, but happened after I saw you. And I was like, I have to tell Lynn. I have to tell Lynn. So that's kind of how it was born.
yeah.
Are we okay on time? Because I can talk.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're going to have to do a part 2 of this.
Oh yeah, because we haven't talked about Spirit Circle. What
Oh,
happened
yeah,
when Antonia
yeah.
came, and
So
what
much
happened
to
when she
unpack.
left. What happened with the blue light?
What happened in the woods?
What
Yeah.
happened in the woods?
Have you written all that down?
I think I have some of it written down.
Okay, we need to
yes.
write it down so we can do it on part 2.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
So will you
Isn't it?
come back for a part 2?
of course, I'm
Perfect.
honored and tickled, and yes, yeah.
It's so much
Technically, we could do it in 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. What are you doing right now?
The food is calling my name.
That's right. That's right. I just heard my stomach gurgle.
I know,
Actually,
me too. All right. On that note, thank you so much for joining us today, Antonia, and we look forward to part 2.
I look forward to it.
Yes, and Aaron maybe will be here.
Yes,
So we
I
can
hope so.
all
I
be
love
together.
Aaron. Shout out to Aaron, who's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
in
The
his
whole
own
family
right.
all in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can even have Ryan come as well.
He would be
because
an
he-
awesome. He's a hoot.
He
I've
is
never met
so
anyone. I mean,
funny.
have you ever met anyone like Ryan?
I've
No,
never
never.
met
we're
anybody
all
like
unique,
Ryan.
right? But
Yeah, but
Ryan,
And he's so unassuming about it. That's
Yes.
what I-
Oh,
and the
you-
man is from outer space, and it shows. It shows.
yeah, he ain't from around here.
He
y'all.
ain't from around here.
That's another episode.
Dictionary starseed, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, I get it.
Oh, Ryan. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he has to come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
absolutely.
be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we love you guys. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review on Apple, Stitcher, or Spotify, wherever. And we'll see you the next time.
All right.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Antonia.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
babies.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.